Sorry, 1 second. I'm just telling Jake I love him. Okay.
I love you. I'm going to go talk about other
Love
boys
you.
now.
Bye. Go talk about other boys now.
Welcome back to the To Be Read podcast. I'm Vanessa.
And I'm Julie.
Today we're talking about
Smut.
oh boy.
We are going to talk about smut. We're going to talk about our book icks, tropes that we love. We're going to finish it off with our book boyfriends.
It's going to be glorious. We all know that you're wondering where we fall into the line of smut meters and what we kind of like as far as book boyfriends go. Everyone wants to know who you can tell a lot about a person by a book boyfriend.
100%.
We're so excited to dive into this world with you guys. But first, we're going to do a little checkity chat check.
Chickadee chat. We're almost going to lose our iPad. Do a little check-in.
What are you reading right now, Julie?
I am currently reading Artificial Wisdom.
Okay.
I listened to a large chunk of it today on my drive.
Nice.
Drove across the state and back. So yeah, I'm like almost 90%. I think I'll probably finish it either tonight or tomorrow. But it's been something different.
Okay.
Something good. I would like to thank Kristen and Maddie for the recommendation. That's where I got
Way
it.
to go.
Chris and Mads on TikTok. Can always rely on them. They're the bomb. So yeah, I'm almost done with that one. But I did finish Glow of the Everflame.
So good.
Which was great. I liked it a lot better than Spark. And I also finished Done and Dusted, which was a nice palette cleanser.
That is definitely different
And is
than
very
Artificial Wisdom.
But it's very much in line with what we're talking about today.
Was it like a romance?
Yeah. It was a cowboy romance.
Was she spicy?
It is spicy.
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 Before we dive into that spice, I finished Zodiac Academy 9.
Oh, finally.
Heaven help me. I am done. But speaking of spicy, the whole series is spicy. I am almost done with Red Rising.
I'm so excited for you.
It's been a wild ride. That's a different kind of book.
I've heard that book described as dense.
Yeah, but it's like a very well written. I don't even know how I'm going to rate it because while I didn't love it, it was well written. It's kind of a weird.
Yeah.
I don't know where it's going to fall in. And I actually really like the main character. So we'll have to dive into that on a different day because.
But keep us tuned.
It was not a spicy book in any way, shape, or form.
No.
Actually, there was one little spicy scene at the very beginning.
Oh, okay.
But he's married.
Yeah.
And 16.
What? Oh, right. Yeah, that book. I only know a little bit about it. But yeah, you have to keep us posted on that.
Yeah.
But we have been reading.
We've been reading
And listening, which is rare for me. But I did a lot of listening today.
It's nice when you have other stuff you got to do.
It is nice. Done. I also listened to a chunk of Artificial Wisdom while I was working on a book bind.
Oh.
So while I was folding signatures for a
Nice.
fan fiction that I'm binding for a friend.
The only thing that would have made that better is if you were listening to the audiobook that it was.
So when I'm working on the cover design and I was trying to get inspo, I'm binding Manacled for a friend. And there's actually a Manacled playlist on Spotify. So I was listening to that.
Oh,
and the audiobook is on Spotify too. But
that is how
I can't design covers and listen to a book. I was struggling on that.
Welcome to my life.
So,
because that's what I do every day, right? Is design.
Yeah.
And so it's very hard to think creatively and then ingest other material at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you're like doing dishes, when you're doing like the monotonous things, the binding, that would be perfect.
When you're folding signatures. Yeah. We're going to dive in.
episode.
But before we get too deep, I'm going to give a warning. I'm going to give a warning because today's episode is going to be cringy and icky. We're going to talk about like phrases that just like gross us out every time. Talk about our smut meter. So like maybe if you're related to me, like don't listen to this episode.
My warning to you now, if you are related to me, don't watch, don't listen. Just don't. Like, if you want to look me in the eye later, don't.
We're going to talk very frankly about smut and on page 6.
I'm going to tell you something really funny though.
Yeah.
My mom probably reads smuttier books than I do.
Hey, you know what?
So,
I'm all for people reading smut. Like if that's your thing, go for it. If you love dark romance, if you love just go for it. Yeah. You know what? We're just going to share our own personal opinions here. I know that I'm much more on the milder side. So I'm going to talk about smut that feels kind of like weird or like a lot for me. And if that's not a lot for you, like whatever,
We're not saying it's bad.
yeah, just read what you love. But this is just where I'm at, where Vanessa's at.
And we hope that you respect us and we will respect you. So
Yeah.
in the comments, be kind. So,
But you do you, Queen. Let's start with just talking about smut. Like, we're not going to give like a ranking system because I'm not going to really rank the books based on smut. But like, what are your preferences? Where does that kind of fall? Like, what do you like in a book?
for me, there just has to be a balance to storyline. If it's overly smutty, I don't like it. It's not necessarily the smut that happens as far as it was depicted. I mean, sometimes I don't love how it's depicted, but it doesn't really make me shy away from it. What I don't like is an imbalance of smut to plot. I like a balance between the two, like 20% smut to 80% plot.
I think this is why you don't love contemporary romance.
Yeah. Probably. Is it more smutty? Is that why?
I would just say that there's a different balance. Like a lot of times contemporary romance, like the main storyline is the romance. Like them getting together. That's
a great point.
That's the plot.
The plot is that they get together.
It's how they get together. And it's not all smut. I mean, there's a lot of like, there's sweet, relationship moments and stuff like that. But there is definitely more smut. And like the conflict of the story is like something happens in their relationship,
Oh, yeah.
Like it's all relationship focused.
Yeah. I think that is why I don't like it. That's exactly
But if you love it, love it.
Okay. I don't mind moderate talking like the good girls. I don't mind that. And I think the reason why is because like it's not happening to me. Because if my real life partner were to say some of the things that these people say, I would be so grossed out. I'd be like, no, take it back. Take it back. I don't like that. I don't like taste descriptions.
Oh my gosh. Ew.
We know it's salty.
Ew.
We don't need to know anything about that. I'm like blushing over here. Oh my gosh. Dark romances aren't my thing. I did try one and it was Hunting Adeline, the first one. And I DNF'd that SOB. Like it was not for me. I'm not saying it was bad. It's just
not your thing.
Not my thing.
Yeah.
As soon as he pulls out a gun, I was like, nope, I'm out. Nope, I can't handle that. So with that being said, reverse harems are rough too. Like the why choose reverse harems, like too many orifices. Okay. Like when you have to count how many holes things are going in, I just can't. Like that's where I draw my line. However, my one exception to that rule is Broken Bonds, that whole series, because it is very plot driven. And the whole premise is that their world, they have multiple mates. Like in their world, there's like a central person who has multiple mates, and everyone has it. It's not just like some gangbang in a bar. Like it makes sense of the storyline.
Interesting.
I have to skip over a lot of smut in that book or a lot of spicy scenes in that book because again, too many orifices. But there's a lot of really, really pretty, beautiful moments that happen in there. So if you ever were to read a reverse harem, that is the one I would read. But to each their own. Because I know you would not.
Yeah, so there are places that I have not gone and probably will never go. But if that's a place, if dark romance is your thing, we've got friends for you.
Oh, yeah.
Our friends on Instagram, Smutty Buddy Besties, they'll hook you up.
They'll be your shamans.
That is not going to be us.
But that's where you can.
But that's where you can go. We're going to throw that reference out there because if dark romance is your thing, they've got you covered. Those girls know that world. I don't mind smut. There are things that really bother me about smut. I think the thing that I hate most about smut right now, and I think it happened a lot in Done and Dusted, was the conversing. There's so much talking happening.
You're not a dirty talk kind of gal.
Not other people's dirty talk. Like, I don't want to. This is my struggle with smut sometimes, is that I feel like I'm standing at the foot of the bed.
Just watching.
Just cool. Do some more. Like
do it again.
It just feels weird. And there's just times where it just feels like so personal. I would rather read tasteful descriptions of what's going on and not really have dialogue. Like I recently read a book that there wasn't dialogue in it. And I really liked that. I am the same as you with like, I want there to be plot. I'm fine if there's smut as long as like there's plot and good characters. If they just suck and they're just banging all the time, I'm not there. Mm-hmm. I'm more for like tension, like
tension,
accidental touches, too long of a gaze or a stare.
That
like,
happens a lot in slow burn, but sometimes
I like myself a slow burn.
Sometimes a slow burn can be too slow, you know?
Yeah. If we're talking like level of comfort, like if I had to give a book where like that's kind of like my limit. Court of Silver Flames is probably like up there. I think, you know, the spice is spicing in that book.
That's surprising to me only because I would have thought that would have been too much.
Yeah, no, I can handle what's in a court of Silver Flames. Mm-hmm. I giggled a lot, like laughed out loud.
Like it was funny.
Like some of it was like gratuitously hilarious.
I think the key word there was gratuitous.
Gratuitous. That book is gratuitous. Another like example of a limit for me would be like Liz Tom Ford, her Windy City series. I've only read 2 of them. Her characters are so good. Mm-hmm. Like I want to read all of her books, but I have to be in the right mind space because she really gets down. Not her, but the characters really get down in those books in all kinds of ways. I can handle some smut, but I'm not a heavy smut. Not heavy on the smut.
I would prefer a storyline to the smut.
Yeah.
So,
but I'm
right
not
there with you.
I'm not against it. And I can get past it. Sometimes I'll skim it. Like call me a prude. I'll be a prude, but it's hard sometimes. And
That's
I just
what
get
your
the
comfort
ick,
level is.
you know?
Yeah.
I just get the ick sometimes.
It's very interesting. I had a buddy who was talking to me about the fact that they think it's funny that when all these women get together and they're like, I love ACOTAR, I love A Court of Silver Flames, I love whatever book is Fourth Wing. And they're basically kind of admitting they like this porn. And I was like, porn, I mean, that's a little rough, you know? Like I don't think all of them, I think some can be like that, don't get me wrong. But I don't think a lot of books are perceived in the same way pornography is.
Yeah.
And the difference between the two is very intriguing of where you draw your line. It's a very personal depiction, I think.
Yeah, and I think we're quick to call it something in a sense of judgment. And I also don't think that's fair. We're really quick to call a book with smut written by a female porn.
But when a man
writes it, we call it art.
You heard it here first. I mean, look at George Martin.
Yep. I was going to say, I'm looking at you, George R.R. Martin.
Yeah. And a lot of these books that are popular nowadays are written in the female gaze, right? You see that very much in the tension, in the small touches, in these like little kicking the feet.
Oh,
moments.
My husband loves fantasy, and I had him read Fourth Wing, and he was just like, if she calls him hot one more time. And I was just like, this is fantasy written for females. Like, it's just different. Mm-hmm. It's great. And I'm so glad we're here, but it's different.
Yeah. And in Red Rising, I'm almost like coming down from a withdrawal because I'm used to like romantic.
Give me the female gaze, please.
Yeah. It is very interesting to just kind of see like the spectrum. Like you've got your dark romances, you've got like lighter fantasy fluff. Another really good example, and this I want to say has zero spice, but so much cute little tension, is Assistant to the Villain.
Okay, yeah.
It's a cute book and there's tension, and I think it's a grumpy sunshine book.
Yeah.
So sometimes certain things are for you in whatever mood you're in.
And I love the spectrum of it all because...
And it is just that, a spectrum.
Because what are you in the mood for, you know?
Yeah.
I've read a lot of Closed Door, and I love Closed Door. There's times where I'm just like, I have a hard time believing these two 30-year-olds, that they're not going to do more, you know? Mm-hmm. And then there's some books that it's a fade to black, or it's just descriptive, and then you just kind of keep going. Mm-hmm. But whatever you're in the mood for, whatever you love, it's reading, and it counts. That's one thing I want to emphasize, is that it's just like, if you're reading romance and that's all you read,
we love it. We're here for it. One book that left me wanting more smut was Kingdom of Ash in What Did Lorcan Do?
You fall into that camp.
I do. What did Lorcan do? But you know my love for Lorcan. So
your love for Lorcan is so deep.
It is so deep. Much like Lorcan could have been. Sorry, the that's what she said jokes are out.
They're out. Oh man.
Your poor mother, if she's listening. My mom won't be surprised. But with that being said, there's a lot of romance books that fall into tropes, and they're being described as tropes. Now there's tropes and then there's micro tropes. So what are your like tropes that you like?
So I am a sucker right now. My go-to trope is brother's best friend. Love it. I just like it. Okay. I don't know, just the aspect of like, he's known you, like you guys have known each other for a long time, and it's just kind of been like, and then it just like turns into something. Done and dusted was a brother's best friend.
Okay. This is my red flag. I know it's a red flag. Don't come for me. Don't judge me. But like mentor, trainer / professor.
Orion.
This is where my love for Lance Orion comes from. Because honestly, that's probably one of the only professor ones that I actually liked.
I used to absolutely detest enemies to lovers because I got so annoyed with like how much they would hate each other. And this was in like more like contemporary romance space where they're like rivals at work or whatever. Like so much of that conflict felt so contrived. Like it's not like, it wasn't like Romeo and Juliet where like their families have this deep rooted hate for each other. You got the promotion and I didn't. I hate you.
It seems so arbitrary in a contemporary space.
Yes. Well, when we get into the fantasy world, I'm more like, I'm down. I'm down for this. One trope that I used to really love, but has kind of been watered down over time by people, womp womp, is best friends to lovers.
Oh my gosh. You know, it can be done well, but I tend to not like them.
Yeah, and I think it's just because like you'd think that over time they would have connected already. I don't know. Sometimes just like too much time has passed and it's just kind of like, ugh.
Well, it's like not believable. In my mind, it's not believable because there's always like what ifs, or there's always some sort of like at least attraction. And if it doesn't happen, one book series that I read that did it really well was Shadow and Bone. And I really like the way Mal and Alina get together. However, it also wasn't incredibly believable because she was always pining after him, and then one day he sees her after she has a glow up. Like,
oh,
you know,
not the after glow up, not that she's all that of it all.
Oh my gosh, it is a little.
I'm going to give a plug though because I just read a good one, which is All the Young Dudes. Remus and Sirius are friends, and they become lovers.
That's very interesting because in the LGBTQ plus space, like a lot of books that are written for queer people start that way.
Yeah.
So just interesting how.
Well, I think so much of it is the inner torture almost of just coming to terms with it. And I think that that's a strong point in All the Young Dudes though, because you see Remus understanding that part of himself, and it takes Sirius a little bit longer.
Interesting.
But I think it's powerful. That's me talking as somebody who like does not understand at all what that experience is like as a straight woman. But I felt like it helped me understand a little bit better how people who are part of that community might feel in that situation.
I love reading about LGBTQ plus relationships because it helps me understand a little bit better. I don't claim to know it all, and I try to be an advocate. It's hard to really grasp every nuance of a queer relationship. So
the representation is so important, you know? But I loved All the Young Dudes, and I thought that it had some really good representation in that sphere, but also was a really good example of best friends to lovers.
What other tropes do you like?
I guess this is kind of a trope. This is more of like a choice that authors make, is to create like a small town with friends. Oh. And then each friend gets their own book and a love story.
Contemporary.
And I love the interconnectedness. I've read some good ones. I'm looking at you, Emily Childs, because she's got 2 series, and they're actually kind of, even the series are intertwined. So like one is about the 4 members of a band, and the band members are best friends with these baseball players.
Okay.
And there's crisscross, and it's
crisscross applesauce.
That is one. Like, I'm a sucker if I have to get books in the same world.
I don't mind in the same world. Carissa Weeks has the Witch Collector series, and that's kind of starting to do that, and it's really cool. By the way, the main character in that is hard of hearing.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's done in such a beautiful way because it's not like a hindrance. Like, it's not a disability.
Okay, cool.
You know? I have a hard time with tropes and especially micro tropes because I think it ruins the experience. Because what if someone came to you, Julie, and was like, just so you know, there's a shared bed and a who did this to you in Aritfical before you read it?
Oh, I would have been livid.
It ruins the experience. And so I understand why the book talk community or just the book reading community subscribes to these ideas. I think it ruins the experience. And this is half the reason why I don't read reviews. I might look at like the stars a book is rated before I read it, but I don't like to read reviews because even, oh yeah, it's got found family. And it's like, no, I don't want to know.
It is a really interesting marketing strategy that authors are doing, authors and creators, I would say, because influencers is like putting up a picture of the cover and being like, here's all the tropes. And it like lists them all out, like strong female character, one bed, who did this to you, which I'm a sucker for both of those things.
I'm not saying they're not good and that they shouldn't be in the book. I'm saying marketing wise, that's terrible.
Yeah.
Terrifying for someone. Like, that's why we have intros to books. Go read the inside of the cover, you know? I really hated it. And Powerless is a great example of this where it was nothing but tropes. The whole book was one big trope after another trope after another trope.
I audibly giggled when they were out in the rain and like almost kissed. I was just like, am I in high school again?
Yeah.
Is this the end of a Cinderella story?
Yeah. Cue
Hear You Me by Jimmy Eat World.
Oh my gosh.
There are some tropes that are immediate no for me.
Okay.
Age gap. And I'm talking like a ridiculous age gap. Like, I think 8 years might be my limit. Like if I have to get really specific. If we're over 8 years, I might get a little uncomfy. And it's because, and this happened in a book, okay? There was a falling in love with your boss trope, which I don't love either. And he was like way older than her. Like probably like 15 to 20 years.
No. Yeah, no.
So way older. It was one of those like small town like series. So at the very end of the last book, it was like 20 years into the future, maybe a little bit farther. And all of these couples were on a trip and he was in a wheelchair.
Stop it. No.
Yes, he was in a wheelchair and I was just like, immediately no.
So I don't mind an age gap, but it's like within 10 years, not anything after that until you hit 100 and more. But again, I read fantasy and they're all like 500 years old.
I'm not talking that age gap. I'm talking like it's your boss. I'm not talking like he's 500 and I'm 21 because he's in the body of a 25-year-old.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing.
I do like an older man, though. I'm not going to lie. I do think over 10 years is probably my limit, though.
Yeah.
Because you're just not in the same like phase of life. And if you are, you need to reevaluate that man. I'm just saying. I mean, pregnancy is not great either.
No. And definitely an accidental pregnancy. I read one that was like straight to jail. Like, you need to go to jail. This is terrible. I don't think I can even remember the name. But it was a book where it was just like these two friends were dorking around and they finally like came to the conclusion that they had feelings for each other and they had mad sex on the floor of the kitchen one night and then she got pregnant and then she like had a really hard time with it and like didn't talk to him. But then they came together, of course, at the end. And that's one of those moments because
stop saying came together.
The pregnancy trope does not do it for me. If they accidentally get pregnant, I'm just like, no.
In Akatar, I hated that Feyre got pregnant.
Bringing a kid into it, I'm just like, can we not?
Yeah. It starts to become real at that point, right?
Yeah.
It's not like some fake make-believe.
Yeah. It's like, okay, you're bringing a child into this.
And the inner moms in us are like, what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this?
Yeah, the logistics of it all.
Yeah. We can't turn our brain off when that is brought into play.
Yeah. And I know that accidental pregnancies happen all the time and that it works out and it's great. And in other times it doesn't work out and it like whatever. But books are a place for me to escape and I cannot deal with that in a book. It's just like too stressful for me. And I think it's because I'm a mom. Yeah.
I also don't like it, but I didn't like it before I was a mom. The whole concept of tropes and microtropes is hard for me.
Yeah.
Talking about it in this space though isn't because we both read these books.
Yeah.
It's more conversational, but when someone's trying to get like, don't come at me with tropes if you want me to read the book.
Yeah.
I don't want to know.
Just give her a title and she'll read it. And she does a really good job at reading books. You tell her to. Other tropes I can't stand are bullying and like that. Really dominating male. And I totally get that does it for people. and like I've said before, go off queen. Like that's great. But I have a hard time with that. That makes me personally uncomfortable. But I get that it does it for people.
On how domineering that man is.
Yeah. I mean, there's
like
times
protector, and then there's like
I'm going to boss you around and you're going to serve me kind of a thing. Yeah. That's when I kind of get uncomfortable. I don't ever want it to be portrayed that like the woman's an object, and I don't ever want her to feel like she's an object because I care about her because she's fake.
I don't mind the protector though. Like, cause sometimes they can be a little aggressive.
Yeah.
But it's all in like protection, not necessarily
like you
serve me.
Yeah.
It's like, I need to serve you, and this is how I'm going to serve you. Luther Corbois is a great example of that.
Luther's so fantastic.
I love Luther. Is the Spark of the Everflame or the Kindred Curse series. He is amazing. He's just a good example of, he's a dominant man who is there to serve a queen. Literally.
Luther is spectacular. Actually, in Done and Dusted, there's a part where they've gotten together already, and he owns the bar and she's at the bar, and this guy comes up and starts hitting on her, and he gets pissed and like just comes and like picks her up and takes her back into his office, and they end up having some shenanigans back there. But that's one of those moments where I'm just like, I'm totally fine with you being like protector. Like, I don't like this.
But what would have made it worse is if he wanted to like fight the guy. That's when it becomes unacceptable.
He did kick him out of the bar, which did make me a little uncomfy.
I think it depends on how it's done. It depends. It really does depend.
Yeah, I guess I can't say anything with it absolute because one, I'm not a Sith, but two, sometimes it works.
Okay. Okay.
Back to the micro tropes, though. We talked about one bed and who did this to you, because those are top tier, spectacular. Chef's kiss. I will eat them up every single time. I love bed sharing.
Without sex.
Accidental bed sharing, intentional bed sharing with cuddles, all kinds of bed sharing.
It's a good one.
I love it. It will always make me kick my feet. Just giggles. We're going to get into our icks. And this is going to get weird. So like, this is the final warning, because this is where it just gets uncomfy. And it's so funny because I literally had a friend text me about this the other day, about phrases that we just cannot stand in a spice scene.
I mean, seated to the hilt.
Straight to jail.
Straight to jail. Why? Like what about like a sword? Is that that reference?
And this is where I just don't like the descriptions of things, because it just gets weird. Unsheath his sword.
Yeah. Why the sword metaphor? Like what is, and that's across the board, right?
Because it is a euphemism.
Right,
but why use it? Yeah. Your favorite being soft like velvet.
Oh, velvet wrapped steel.
Velvet wrapped
Jennifer
steel.
Armentrout, I'm looking at you.
Oh man.
You were saying this earlier. Came together. The word came
together.
Come. Yeah. Like nope. This is where descriptions don't always need to happen. You know?
Yeah.
Exploded. Exploded, and
that's
it's like, what is it, a firework?
That's Cassian, just like filled her with his seed.
Ew, seed.
Ugh. This is just where it needs to stop. Like it's gross. It's a universal human experience. Putting it into words just doesn't need to happen.
The apex of her thighs or core, the apex, like the word apex is.
That's a no for you. That one doesn't bother me as much.
I think I've just seen it overdone.
I'd just rather them use that than, the word.
Oh, yeah. That's not great either.
No.
Any form of that word, right?
I don't think
the P word. There's,
yeah. The P word is straight to jail for me.
It
gets weird.
But it's also, okay, so we've established I read a lot of fantasy. It's also not indicative of the time frame, but I guess it's a fantasy world. It could be whatever they want. But like anytime I read it, it just becomes modernized. Because that's a modern phrase. So I'm always like, I'm taken out of the world a little bit. Riding the wave of her passion, or especially like, yeah, just no.
Riding her to the finish, or she rode him to the finish. Like any sort
moving
of
inside.
Yeah. Thrust.
Yes.
Basically, I don't like any of the descriptive smut words. Mom, I'm really sorry. Wet folds.
Oh. Or her wetness.
Her wetness. I I can't.
I think we're just childish. I think we're just
I do have the maturity level of like a 12-year-old boy for sure.
Yeah.
I giggle about sex. I've got 4 kids. Like obviously.
Obviously we know that you know how it's done. But
yeah. I know I've talked about done and dusted a couple of times, but he called her sugar.
Oh, I think that's cute.
It was kind of cute, but it also got a little weird.
Oh.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk.
Oh, you want to know what else I hate? When they describe tastes like fruit, and now I can't eat cantaloupe. Like, if you have read From Blood and Ash, that series,
Jennifer L. Armentrout, what?
I can't do it. Cantaloupe is off limits now.
Oh my gosh.
It's always cantaloupe. It's not anything else.
Honestly, like the smells and the flavors
Yeah.
are getting out of hand. Yeah. Okay, all of this aside, the icks, the tropes, romance, smut, all of it has led us to fall in love multiple times over with these wonderful men.
How does your husband feel about book boyfriends?
He thinks it's silly.
Okay.
Okay, I have an ankle bracelet that has like my favorite book men on it. And
Stop it. I didn't know that.
Jake the other day noticed it and was like, "What is that?" Because it's got Remus and it's got Clay Dunbar and it has Fenris and Draco and I think it's got Iroh from Avatar.
Okay.
It's just like some of my favorite like male characters and Jake's just like, "What are you doing?" And I'm just like, "You love me."
Yeah, this is how you take me.
If I had like pictures of them on the walls, I think it'd get weird.
Yeah.
But he's
they're
like,
deep in your
whatever.
heart.
Yeah.
I have not talked about book boyfriends with my husband. However, he knows that they're there.
Yeah.
And we kind of giggle about it. He's always like, "Oh, did you learn something new in this book?" And like he makes it like a joke.
Yeah.
And that helps because it helps remind me that they're not real men. They're men written by women, and they're
men
not
written by women.
My husband just giggles about it, and we just kind of.
I think it's just something that like you can have fun with. Mm-hmm. Do I save fan art of them? Absolutely, I do.
It reminds me of like when you have a movie crush.
Oh yeah, like a celebrity
list,
crush.
Celebrity exception list. Obviously, it would never happen.
Yes.
And even if it did, you know, we both know that it wouldn't happen. There's no way Rowan would take 2 looks at me and be like, "Yes, that's the one I want." So I choose you, Pikachu. It's just all in good fun.
It is. So let's do our book boyfriend lists.
I want a couple
honorable mentions. Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, Sam Keel, Book of Azrael.
Okay.
He's there for his woman. We love it. Hunt Athalar. I know a lot of people don't like Hunt. I did.
I'm not one. I love Hunt. I think he's great.
Hunt. When he calls her sweetheart at the end when she's getting the little demon sucked out of her, like I reread that so many times.
I need to reread Crescent City 1. 2 and 3 are just kind of like whatever for me, but 1 is a work of art.
Spectacular. It's amazing. Mac from Bones.
Oh my gosh.
I think he's going to be the next love interest. They just kind of set it up that way.
Yeah.
With him helping her in the prison. So.
Oh, that scene is so good. I'm excited to reread that.
Yeah. Lorcan Salvatore is my number 10.
Let's see that smile. At 10? Okay, I'm already surprised.
I'm telling you, I like him.
I know.
A lot.
I know you do because you get this
giggles.
you get the giggles and you get this little
sparkle.
shimmer in your eye.
Lorcan. Yes. Azrael, number 9.
Okay.
Reese.
Okay.
Xander from A Fate of Wrath and Flame.
Okay.
He is actually depicted as like an auburn-haired guy, I think. So just, you know, diversity. Because not all of them can be
red hair, black hair.
Black hair, yeah, with blue eyes. Raven.
Yep.
Dark Window.
Yep.
Zayden Ryerson. Luther Corbois.
Top 3, huh?
Actually, no. I'm switching these. Castile Denier.
Okay.
And then Luther Corbois from the Kindred Curse. Lance Orion.
Yes.
Number 2. And number 1 is Rowan Whitethorn. And I say that and someone's going to be like, "Well, what about this guy?" And I'll be like, "Nope, put him on the list." You know, like.
It's such a fluid list. It's always changing.
Depends on your day.
I really had to like dig and think because
What are yours?
I
Honorable
sounds
mention.
number 11. Number 10 is Jack Granger from The Quit List by Katie
Oh.
Bailey.
Okay.
He is the one man who has used the good girl line, and I lost it. Like, squealed.
The squeal.
That line normally kind of gives me the heebies, but I was like, bark. I was like, I was there for
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
Okay. Love Jack Granger. Number 9 is Isaiah Rhodes from Play Along, which is the latest Liz Tomford novel.
Okay.
He was just like, from the moment he met the girl, he was all in. And he was just like down bad for her the whole time and like the sweetest.
Okay.
Then we're going to go, number 8 is Will Griffin from Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. You know, tattooed bodyguard. I don't love this book, but I love this man. Atlas Corrigan from It Ends With Us and It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. He's spectacular.
Hey, listen, I don't think Zodiac Academy is a great book, Lance.
But you love Lance Orion. Yeah. So I really love Atlas. You can come for me in the comments. It Starts With Us is everything I've ever wanted in a book, which is a glorified epilogue with no conflict, and it's just happy.
Love that.
I don't think that she's the best writer, and I did not love It Ends With Us, but I really liked It Starts With Us, and I read it twice. Okay. Number 6 is Aiden Ryerson, because obviously
Shadow Daddy.
that man. Number 5, hold on to your jaw. Elm from Two Twisted Crowns.
Okay.
There was something about the tension in that book, and I was just like, wow.
To be super honest, I think I would have liked him more if he had his own book. Yeah.
He came in and he was great.
Yeah.
So, number 4 is Miles Nowak from Funny Story.
Oh.
Oh my goodness. He's Dylan O'Brien in my mind, which I think is one reason why I love him even more. Whew, he's good. Number 3 is Bridger Cole from Our Secret Song by Emily Childs, which is a really underrated book. I found it on Kindle Unlimited and it's spectacular.
Oh, nice.
He is like a bad boy rock star, but he is like a puppy dog and I adore him. So that's number 3. Number 2 is Rowan.
2 Clay.
No. Draco Malfoy.
Oh.
In the
I
fanfics.
In the fanfics.
Fanfic Draco. This is one that Jake has a hard time with because he's just like, ew, Draco. And I'm just like, fanfic Draco.
He doesn't know because he hasn't read them.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
I love him.
I can't separate the two. That's my problem.
I know.
I am shocked by that list, and I'm shocked that I only know like 3 or 4 of those.
I know. I really got into my like contemporary land
You did.
because there's a lot of goodies in there. But I have to say, like, I was thinking about what fanfic Draco. I actually really like Manacled Draco.
I did not. Very interesting.
You did not.
No. Because I would have handled it different. How he handled conflict, I would have handled it different. So the whole time I was like, why would you do that, Draco? Why would you do that?
I just think of him at the end.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a nice picture.
Yeah, I mean, there were moments like when he goes just full bore as High Reeve, like to protect her. I was just like, that was a moment where I was like, go off. I love this.
Way to be.
It wasn't like icky to me. I was just like, yeah, dissolve everybody. That's great. Do it because you love her. Fantastic. But at the end, like
With him and
quick,
Aurora.
quick spoiler for Manacled. So if you do that, him and Aurora, like the fan art of like her on his shoulders, I'm just like,
Which
tall,
is their child.
yeah, tall, adorable Draco.
It is, yeah. I'd be interested to read like the more rom-com-y ones, just to kind of separate.
He is
those,
pretty
you know?
dreamy in Draco Malfoy and the Mortifying Ordeal of Being in Love.
Some of the fanfics I've seen, I was like, oh, I see the hype. I see it. I see it. Do you notice a theme in your top book boyfriends?
A lot of them are very puppy dog, golden retriever.
I'm noticing that of you.
Yeah. I also am one that does love a blonde. I'm married to a blonde. So that is a type for me. One that I forgot to mention that would probably make it an honorable mention is Elliot Beck from How to Hide in Plain Sight from Emma Noyes. The book is about a girl that struggles with OCD, and Elliot Beck is just, he is absolutely smitten with her. He loves her. They are best friends. He just loves her brain. And that's something that like he like says in the book is like, I love your brain. And as someone who has OCD and has a partner who's very like understanding, it reminded me so much of him that I was just like, immediately, I love you forever. I love that book and I need people to read it. because it's such a good depiction of what it's really like to live with OCD. And Elliot's amazing. So cheers to you, Emma. Well, that's kind of where we lie in the world of smut and book boyfriends
And romance.
And
even.
romance. I like it a lot more than you do.
You like contemporary.
I like contemporary more than you do.
I do like romantasy.
And you can handle more smut than I can.
Yeah.
It'll never not be funny to talk about smut things.
Yes. It's always funny to talk about it with someone for the first time, whoever it is.
Just like you do you. Do what you love. Read what you love. And if you need good dark romance smut recommendations, check out our friends Smutty Buddy Besties, because they're pumping out content because they read books like I've never seen.
Please don't ever say pumping.
Pumping out. Just remember, books are for everyone, books are for you, and we'll catch you next week. Bye.
Bye.